His hands shook violently as if electrocuted. Looking at that cold-faced person on stage, straight as a sword, Summer Hayes. He pinched a chunk of his own flesh. He struggled to say, I must be dreaming. Or the big boss wants to lure me in. Then kill me. I'm Aaron Shea. Are you really content being a hotel manager your whole life? Whatever, I'm in. He told this to Stephen Su. Stephen Su reacted the same way. Even after the banquet ended, the two still hadn't stopped trembling. Stephen Su said with a funeral face, Mr. Shea, I heard more gossip about young CEO Hayes. Want to hear it? Isn't young CEO Hayes' company related to medicine? I heard. She did it because her lover died of cancer. That's why she devoted herself to researching this field. Listen, now the company's development is simply skyrocketing. You said young CEO Hayes called your information accurate. Probably wants you as her assistant. Holding on to this nerve-wracking uncertainty, they both went to Summer Hayes' company for interviews. This medical company was called Remembrance. Without even thinking, Stephen Su could guess. That name must be from the boss's lover. Holding Summer Hayes' business card, they didn't even need to wait. The receptionist looked at Stephen Su's face, smiled brightly and said, Ms. Hayes is waiting for you upstairs. The receptionist was quite beautiful. Aaron Shea's gaze traveled between her and Stephen Su, frowning deeply. Don't you think that guy looks like you? Does he? Stephen Su used his phone's black screen as a mirror to look. Continuously, observing multiple times, he really did see a bit of resemblance. Really a bit similar around the eyes. By the time they reached Summer Hayes' office, both Stephen Su and Aaron Shea understood. Whether the senior or him, they both resembled someone. The photo frame on the boss's desk. Inside was a Polaroid photo. Two boys smiling freely. One looked somewhat like Summer Hayes. The other resembled a combination of Stephen Su and the senior. This must be young CEO Hayes' lover and family member. They thought in unison. Summer Hayes seemed to have just returned from a drinking event, still carrying a faint smell of alcohol. Sat on the sofa frowning. If you want the job, go downstairs to HR to process paperwork. Someone will show you the ropes later. Salary calculated according to probation period. If you accept, you can sign the contract. Over the past 3 years, whenever she saw anyone who resembled me even slightly, whether male or female, Summer Hayes tried to keep them near her. She never touched these people. The abbot at South Mountain Temple said as long as you do good for someone, keep strict discipline, think of that person constantly. Chant sutras day and night for their salvation. Then you can ensure that person's journey through reincarnation is worry-free. And their next life's rebirth goes smoothly. Summer Hayes could do that. She placed those people before her eyes. As if, through their faces that somewhat resembled mine, she could see that person still living beside her. It seemed as long as she did this, she wouldn't have nightmares every night anymore. Summer Hayes didn't know what people said about her outside. She wasn't very interested in knowing either. Ever since the day I died under clear blue skies for miles. Seattle's sky was never bright again. The sun stayed hidden behind clouds all day. The hazy things in the air weren't just fog but filled. Everything gray, always shrouding around her. She couldn't breathe. Every minute, every second felt like drowning. Hannah Shaw's red-rimmed eyes remained seared in her mind. Like a pair of red warning lights piercing the heart. Hanging high above Summer Hayes' head, monitoring her every move. Over the past 3 years she'd had so many dreams. Dreaming of Ryan Hayes crying and saying, Sis, why didn't you come save me? Then dreaming of me floating on the water's surface. Smiling and saying to her, Congratulations on your wedding. I wish you happiness. Regret and pain like raging fire tormented her day and night. Summer Hayes couldn't sleep, standing before the window. Among 10,000 lit homes, was one still his? And after her parents' ultimatum, divorcing Tyler Crawford, Summer Hayes had nowhere to return, could only resolutely from her parents. After divorcing Tyler Crawford, Summer Hayes had nowhere to return, could only come back to this house that once she and I had bought together. Back then she was still in school without much money. Could only afford this small place of 60 or 70 square meters. Ryan would occasionally stay over. Those were her happiest, most carefree days. The layout of the house was no different from before. It seemed she only had to look up, and I'd appear beside her with a bright smile, holding her. Ryan would dramatically take photos saying, "Sis, you two stop flaunting your happiness." Now beside her was only emptiness. The two most important men in her life had both left her. Just then the phone rang. A call at this hour could only be from that person. The girl's voice was very gentle, like tender willow branches born in spring. "Are you doing okay? Your last checkup was 3 months ago. You should be free by now, right?" Summer Hayes' voice was low. "Let's schedule for tomorrow afternoon. I figured you weren't asleep yet. Did you run out of sleeping pills?" "Yes. Can you prescribe me more next time?" Joanna's voice was soft. "Summer, have you forgotten your previous suicide attempt? I can't prescribe you excessive doses. What you need isn't just sleeping pills. You must come tomorrow afternoon." After hanging up, Summer Hayes sighed helplessly. She rinsed her mouth, then removed her IWC watch strap. Beneath it was a horrifying scar. She spoke to the air itself. "Good night, good night. Good night, Ethan, good night, Ryan." But she couldn't sleep. In the darkness, a swollen male face rose by the bed. His eyes pitch black, lying down. 2 trails of blood-red tears. The floating corpse spoke in my voice. "Summer Hayes, why won't you look at me? Why did you keep forcing alcohol on me when you knew I had stomach cancer? Why? You actually just wanted to kill me for your brother, didn't you? Didn't you?" Summer Hayes stared at him, showing not a trace of fear. "I'm sorry." Ethan's hands squeezed tight around her neck. Summer Hayes felt suffocated. Her cheeks flushed red, but she smiled. She said brokenly, "Ethan, kill me. Kill me, then I can atone to you both." The marks on her neck were too obvious. Joanna only needed one look to know immediately. This was Summer Hayes' unconscious self-harm behavior. Right after her suicide attempt phase, she'd been brought to the hospital under strict supervision. Anything that could harm her was removed from the room by nurses. Joanna happened to be her primary treating physician. That was the first case she'd personally taken on. She'd already checked the room that evening. But that night she inexplicably felt anxious. Went straight to open Summer Hayes' hospital room door. It was already midnight. Midnight. Summer Hayes wasn't lying in bed. She was sitting in the bathroom corner, using a broken piece of the showerhead, repeatedly scraping at the skin of her wrist. The dull plastic somehow cutting into flesh. After that incident, Summer Hayes became the hospital's key observation subject. 24-hour camera right overhead. She had no more tools for suicide. Until Joanna happened to observe the surveillance monitor. Discovered her with eyes closed, using both hands to squeeze her own throat. That wouldn't kill her. With reduced oxygen, after dizziness, Summer Hayes would naturally release her hands. But Joanna was still terrified. Out of her mind, hardly daring to let Summer Hayes leave her sight for even half a step. 6 months later she was discharged, carrying her scarred body with her, putting on a suit, once again becoming that famous young CEO Hayes with her glorious achievements. But Joanna always kept in touch with her. She tried to keep her voice gentle and calming. "You dreamed about Ethan Sinclair again last night, didn't you?" Summer Hayes looked at her strangely. "Yes." She set down the cup of warm milk. "He wanted to kill me. Wanted to take me away." I agreed. But each time Ethan relents. Her depression clearly hadn't lessened. Each time believing I truly existed. Joanna could only go along with what she said. Otherwise Summer Hayes would immediately refuse to cooperate. But have you thought about why Ryan isn't there? According to what you've said yourself, the responsibility for both Ryan and Ethan rests on your shoulders. Why is it only Ethan who comes to trouble you?" Summer Hayes was clearly stumped by the question for a while. She pondered hastily and drew a conclusion. I deserve to die. She was always this difficult to communicate with. Joanna had accepted this mode of interaction. After all, Summer Hayes didn't harm others. Hadn't reached the level requiring mandatory detention. Could only try to prescribe medication for her. This was also exactly what Summer Hayes wanted. She had no intention of opening her heart. Just wanted these medications to temporarily numb herself, so she could complete her work smoothly. Outsiders all said how successful Summer Hayes was. How exceptional. Only she knew. The money she was making now wasn't nearly enough. 3 years ago, the money I'd put into the Hope Project before dying became one of only 2 reasons she worked so hard. She'd already donated so much money, but still not enough. Summer Hayes carried the medication to her car. Her phone made a soft ting. It was the college class president sending a mass message. This Sunday organizing an 8-year graduation anniversary reunion. Everyone in the city should come. She had zero interest. Silently deleted the message. The reunion was starting. Everyone in the city should come. She had zero interest. Silently deleted the message. Drove to her destination, the Hayes family home. No matter what, they wouldn't allow my grave to be buried next to Ryan Hayes. Summer Hayes didn't beg or plead. She found the nearest gravestone. So the 2 brothers could lean against each other and talk. Holding a bottle of liquor, she sat down on the ground. Summer Hayes's expression carried a hint of haziness. Can you ask Ethan for me? When will he finally let me die? On Ryan Hayes's headstone, he smiled brightly. The sunlight still frozen in his happiest college days. While Summer Hayes had already passed 30, Seattle's winter was cold as a freezer. Last night Summer Hayes had a rare peaceful sleep. Woke up to find it was already 11. She turned off the alarm and rolled out of bed. The consequence of taking medication was that she could only sleep until naturally waking. Lucky today there was no difficult business to handle. Remembering yesterday when Joanna told her, "Get out and connect with nature more. Maybe it'll help improve your mental state." Summer Hayes laughed derisively, but couldn't think of anywhere she could go. As if, besides this psychologist she'd known for 3 years, she had no friends whatsoever, or any existence she could confide everything in. Perhaps following her advice more would make her a bit better. Summer Hayes rummaged through her closet for clothes to wear. Since I died, no one helped her put together a complete outfit suitable for the current occasion. So whether it was a major business banquet or daily work, she could only choose simple outfits. That couldn't go wrong. Like today's down jacket, windbreaker and regular pants. Actually couldn't really be called harmonious. Fortunately her figure was exceptional. It passed well enough. There were many parks large and small. Summer Hayes randomly chose the furthest one. She had no interest in recreation. But the drive there with soft music playing could at least keep her mind from chaos. An hour's drive wasn't long or short. But the songs on that playlist played over and over. They were the ones I liked. Taking advantage of the red light before starting. A light impact came from behind. Summer Hayes looked in the rearview mirror. A young man on an electric bike, looking terrified at her car's rear. The young man was worried to tears. "I'm so sorry, ma'am." Summer Hayes's car was still that Panamera from years ago. She looked at the scratch, calmly sat back down. The young man chased after, choked up. "I'll pay you compensation. Please leave your contact." He was very young. Made Summer Hayes think of me in college. I'd also traveled like this. Through Seattle's freezing mornings. Riding far away to tutor. So Summer Hayes shook her head. "No need." The young man shook his head. "No need." The young man insisted on compensating. But Summer Hayes knew repainting this would cost at least $30,000. She grew slightly impatient, directly hit the gas and sped off. Northern winter, all the leaves had fallen. This season very few children came to play in the park. But just entering the park, Summer Hayes heard cheerful laughter. Summer Hayes glanced from afar. Didn't care and kept walking. It seemed to be a family. The man holding a child laughing happily. The woman bent over sitting by a picnic blanket. Dressed very warmly, raising her hands to arrange the plates. How happy, she assessed inwardly. If Ryan Hayes hadn't died that year, if she was still with me, now the child would be this big too. The park had a huge lake. Since I died, Summer Hayes had been somewhat afraid of water. But today for some reason she really wanted to go closer. The lake's surface rippled with wind-blown waves. Staring too long at the overlapping ripples, as if about to be sucked in, a hurried voice came from behind. "Hey, what are you doing?" Summer Hayes turned around, saw a face she thought she'd never see again in this lifetime. She stepped back, realized half her body was already leaning against the railing. No wonder Hannah Shaw thought she was about to jump. The two confronted each other in silence for a minute.